Welcome to the Live in Color podcast, where we explore healthy living with real food, real passion, and real cool people. I'm your host, Amber Benson, the co-founder of Ruby, where our mission is to crush nutritional deficiency with the planet's purest source of nutrition, fruits and vegetables. We are so excited to have Hilda Dunford with us today. Hilda is raising awareness of what life is like raising her blind son. Her social following, Our Blind Side, shares the story of her family of 5, including her son Ashton, who was born with septo-optic dysplasia. Through amazing parenting from Hilda and her husband Ty, and a wonderful community around them, Ashton lives a full, adventurous life. Welcome, Hilda. We are excited to have you here. And there are several reasons I'm excited to have a chat with you today, which you're a mom of 3, and you're a dance mom, which is like next level parenting. And then your son is blind, and I am so excited to get a sneak peek into what life is like for you. Momhood is so busy anyway, and here you have like extra busy in your life, and I'm curious about that. I'm curious about inclusion. You talk a lot about that and how we can be better as parents listening to this podcast to be inclusive, or our children as well. And then, of course, since we're about food and about living in color and vibrancy, I'd love to hear some of your food hacks as a mom and some of your food memories. So let's get started with your son, Ashton. Tell us a little bit about him, what his condition is, and what your life is like.
Thanks for having me. I'm really excited to be here. So Ashton was born, I was actually 41 weeks when he was born. He was, we thought he was healthy. Everything was fine. There was no sign of anything being wrong. And when he was born, he had to spend a week in the NICU for low blood sugar. And so we thought, oh, okay, that's, he's past the low blood sugar. He was discharged. He was just having some trouble with his eyes were bouncy. And the doctor kept telling me that's normal. When he's 2 months, he'll start tracking. Everything is fine. And then the 2 months came, and his eyes would just keep bouncing, and he wouldn't, look at faces, which most babies do. He would get startled at sounds, but he would never look for your face. And so there was an MRI that was done. He was referred to an ophthalmologist, and I remember the call from the ophthalmologist was probably one of the hardest days of my life, when she said, and I think she kind of wanted me to prepare, but she said, is there someone there with you that when we get off the phone that you'll be able to talk to, like your mom or a friend or your husband? And I was at my mom's house. And so she said, I sat in a rocking chair with Ashton. Actually, I was holding Ashton, and she said, Ashton is blind. He has a condition called septo-optic dysplasia. And right after she said he is blind, I just kind of blurred everything else she said. I just kind of like my whole world just fell apart. I just didn't know how I was going to raise a baby that was blind. I've never been around anyone that was blind. And she explained in that call, his optic nerves are underdeveloped, and he has a condition called optic nerve hypoplasia bilateral, which we later on found out it was septo-optic dysplasia because he had other medical conditions on top of the blindness. But she just said happens 1 in 10,000 births. We don't know why it happens. I'm going to send some resources your way, the School for the Blind, there's early intervention. And so I was just kind of left like, I don't know how, what his life is going to look like. And it was the hardest thing. I didn't know what to do. I started learning from early interventions, the School for the Blind. I asked them to teach me how to braille. That was the first thing. I started brailing with baby books, like the board books for him. I started going to conferences for parents with blind children, and I learned from them, what does their future look like? What things help them? I met amazing blind adults who were completely independent, had guide dogs, used white canes, had gone to college, had families. And I just learned so much from them. And I just thought, I'm going to set Ashton up. I'm going to raise him just like I would raise any other, my girls, just like I would raise my girls that are sighted. I'm going to raise him the same way. And he is just as just as independent as any other 12-year-old boy, just, does things a little bit differently. Sometimes it takes him a little bit longer to learn a skill, but he learns it, and he has just done so many things in his life that even I had never done at his age. So it's just been a journey, and we've learned so much from him.
That's so amazing. Thank you for sharing that story. It's personal. I was getting emotional hearing it. I'm sure thinking back on it, there's a lot of emotions involved in that part of it and throughout. What is it like? Is it you're in it now? Is it like this is our life and it's great and I love it? Or do you have moments that are very emotional still?
I think any parent of a child with a disability would say the grieving process doesn't ever end. I mean, I love Ashton. He is perfect to me. He's overcome so many challenges in his life. But then there are also days where I think, what would his life look like, if he was sighted? Like, what would his friends, how many, like, what would he be interested? Would he play soccer? Would he have played football? There are things that he can't, that without sight, it's less likely for him to be able to want to be interested in. And so with being blind, there's a lot of challenges. And I just wonder, like, would he have done this? Or when somebody shares, like, for example, he won't ever be able to drive. So we're getting my oldest ready to take the test, and, she's learning how to drive. And Ashton has lots of questions about it. And we had to explain to him, like, you can't, like, you won't be able to drive. Now, it doesn't mean you can't own a car and someone else can't drive you around, or you can take the bus, there's other things. But I know that when he turned 16 and all his friends turned 16 and all the moms share, oh, so-and-so got their driver's license. I'm so proud of them. They, that it's going to be hard. And there's times like that just throughout his life where I've been like when they shared, oh, my baby just took his first steps and he's 9 months old. And my son wasn't crawling yet. Just times in your life where you're just like you grieve what you planned for them. But then at the same time, when you see them reach that milestone or you see them do something else, it doesn't mean that other challenge that they overcame isn't just as special or even more special because you had to wait longer or because they had to do it a different way. So that's probably the hardest part about raising someone with a disability or raising someone that is blind. I just the grieving process of that doesn't ever end. But I love who he is. I love how strong he is, how confident he is, so determined. And I just think, I would have missed so much about just learning about the blind community and just the disability community that I never had been part of, that I never knew if I wasn't Ashton's mom. I wouldn't have known about this whole new world. So I am grateful for that. And I am grateful that he's doing all the things that he's doing with his life right now.
So how old is he now?
He's 12.
Well, he looks older than 12.
Yeah.
He's 12 and he's in middle school.
He's in middle school.
And I saw that he's running.
Yeah.
In cross country.
Runs cross country. So last year, I used to be a runner actually. And last year he said, Mom, I want to run a 5K. And I was like, okay, I haven't run in years, but let's train for a 5K. So we started training and I was his guide and I would run with him. And then I realized he's running in Vans. We need to get him running shoes because Vans are his favorite. Laces are really hard. So the slip-on Vans are just his favorite shoes. And so we got him some running shoes right before the race. The race day came. He left me in the dust. He was so much faster. He had just been running with the wrong shoes. So he got to the finish line and my husband was there and my husband's like, and he turned to him, he's like, where's Mom? I thought Mom was right with me, like running behind me the whole time. And so when he did that and he was so fast, I was like, Ashton, would you like to do cross country? Do you want to run in a club? Do you want to do a team? And he was like, yeah, I love it. Like, it was so fun. So we found the cross country team, the city team. I called the coach and I said, I have a blind runner, and would it be possible for him to join the team? And he said, of course, we'll find him a guide. How fast does he run? How tall is he? And found him a guide from the high school cross country team. And that's how he runs at all the races. And then he did track in the spring. And so he's just been doing cross country for a year now, and he loves it. He loves running. And I also love how it teaches the other kids in the race, the sighted runners, that, a blind runner is just as capable. And, they just need to watch out when he's coming and just kind of like let him get around, if he's trying to get around with his guide. But I think the awareness is great because the community, like in our little team, has been great. All the parents are super supportive, and the kids are learning like a blind runner runs with a guide runner. And that's really cool that, you only see that in the Paralympics. So
yeah, so I got to see the 100-meter dash in the Paralympics, and it was fascinating. And they were all blind runners, and they had their guides. So we can show that for our YouTube watchers, but for our listeners, what does the guide do?
So the guide has to run as fast as the runner or faster. It has to be as tall as the runner or taller. Mm-hmm. So for Ashton, his guide, they're not as coordinated as the Paralympics. That is the goal for, a blind runner and a guide. But the guide runner runs at the same pace as the blind runner. And then when there are people around them that they need to pass, they guide the runner around them. They also talk about the course. So they hold a tether. Okay. So Ashton has a tether, and his guide is great. He always asks him, do you want to hold the tether with your left hand or your right hand? And then he will go on the other side to hold the tether. And he doesn't pull on Ashton or anything. He just kind of runs at his pace. And then he'll tell him, we're passing this person on the left. We're passing this person on the right. The course is going uphill now. The course is going downhill. We're going around a pond. We're doing this. And then he'll tell him, we're almost there. Like right when they're I love recording every time they go through the finish line, because I can just see him telling Ashton, like, you're almost there, keep going. And so I love his guide runners. They're amazing. And they're just kids in the high school cross country team that just volunteer to guide Ashton. So it's really cool.
That's amazing. So he goes to junior high school,
to
middle school. Does he have a guide at school, or does he get around classes by himself and to and from school? How does that work?
So he rides the bus to school. My husband walks him to the bus stop. And then once he gets off the bus, he's got what's called a braille technician. And she stays with him for most of the day. He's trying to move more towards being more independent and having less of a braille tech during the day, because he thinks I'm pretty sure he can do more time than we let him. But we just like to have her there, like in the back of the class, just in case he needs help with. He's got a cart full of his tools. He's got a Perkins Brailler, a Braille note, a Chromebook. He's got Braille paper, just different tools. Oh, and then CCTV, that's like a magnifier, kind of a screen that you can put over a textbook and it makes it bigger. And so with all those tools, it's hard to get him from one class to the next. He's got 7 classes in middle school. So the Braille tech is in charge of taking that from one class to the next and just making sure that Ashton is able to have all the accommodations for the teachers, because most teachers have never worked with a blind student until Ashton gets into their class. And so they have a lot of questions, and that's the Braille tech helps with those questions. And he knows how to get from each class and knows how to get around. He gets 5 minutes before the bell rings and he leaves to the next class. But he spent all summer before going into middle school from elementary, because elementary was much smaller. Middle school is a bigger building. So all summer we spent probably like 5 or 6 weeks with his orientation and mobility instructor. That's the teacher that teaches blind children how to use a white cane and get around. She showed him where the bathrooms were, where the classes were, where the elevator was, the stairs, the cafeteria, everything, the office. And so Ashton is very much aware of his surroundings. I think the hardest part is when we go to unfamiliar places, but like at home, at school, if he's been like grandma's house or, he knows how to get around. Um, it's something that blind children are very, very bright with knowing how to get around places. They memorize like the layout of places really fast, and also voices, like names of people. Ashton is it's really interesting because he might have met someone like 2 years ago, and they come up to him, and as soon as they speak, Ashton knows who they are just from their voice. And so it's amazing. Also, when we're listening to music, he'll be like, Mom, this is so and so. And I'm like, I've never even heard this song. Like, how do you know who's singing? And he's like, oh, I just know their voice. So they're just very good at recognizing people's voices. They are very, those little details, they remember people. So it's really cool.
It's fascinating to think about the power of our senses. And when we're relying on all of them, maybe we don't fine tune some of the other senses like your son has with the voice recognition and things like that. The closest, the most intimate I've been with anybody that has blindness is I got to pick up Eric Weinmayer. He's blind. He climbed Everest. He was a keynote speaker for a company I worked for, and I got to pick him up from the airport, and I was his chaperone for the day, I guess. I was like, I did that with our other speakers as well, but Eric had his guide dog, and no other person with him. He came out of the airport with his guide dog, and I remember we got into the convention center, which is their huge facilities, right? Which they come into these. I mean, I come into those facilities and I'm lost, but he came in and he said, if you could point me to the bathroom, I need to use the bathroom before I go and speak. And so I found the bathroom for him, and I thought, well, does he need any more assistance than it's just straight ahead? And I said, do you need any other help? He says, no, my dog helps me with everything else. So he just needed to know the location of the bathroom, and then the dog helped him through. And I asked him later, I said, what does your dog do? He says, oh, well, he knows where the sink is. He knows where the stalls are. He knows all of the things that you would need to know.
How to find even the garbage cans.
Yes.
And they're trained to alert the guide dog user if there's an obstacle that isn't even in the dog's like peripheral, but higher in the humans, like an obstacle or something. They're trained so that they'll protect them from that, and they'll stop in front of it, and they won't let them, run into someone or run into something.
Yeah.
So it is really cool. Ashton is actually on a wait list to have a guide dog when he turns 18. So that'll be, he really is looking forward to that. And Eric Weinmayer, I've talked to him a couple of times on social media. Ashton spoke at a gala in Boston 2 years ago. And he wasn't there, but like one of the things they were auctioning was like a tour, like an expedition with him, and like an adaptive program that they have in the East Coast with him. And so it was cool that they were doing that. And I wish he would have been there. It would have been awesome to meet him. But yeah, he's amazing.
He's a remarkable person for sure. I was lucky to spend an afternoon with him. But so talk about food. I don't know many 12-year-olds who are making food for themselves. Is Ashton yet? Are you training him to, it's got to be scary. Cutting up an apple, using anything that's sharp is scary for any child. But what's your routine with Ashton and food?
Ashton is very picky with snacks. A lot of blind children, textures are very hard. So fruits and veggies are hard for him. I usually cut up the fruits and veggies, and it usually comes with like some sort of bribe afterwards. Like you can have a brownie after or something. You can have ice cream after, or, he doesn't love to eat vegetables. So smoothies are great for him. The Ruby, that's great for him. He loves those kind of things, but trying to sneak in vegetables and fruits in his body is kind of hard sometimes. So as far as making food, he knows how to make himself an egg sandwich. He knows how to warm up things, But as far as like cooking on his own, we're still working on that. He's helped us, we're trying to teach him to like cook things on the stove and stuff. But I feel like we're still pretty, we get nervous about, so we're just right there with him and we kind of guide him. And we know they do have, I need to get like these braille stickers for the oven so that he'll know when he's pushing the buttons what it is. What I haven't figured out yet is how he's going to know like the temperature and stuff. So there's still a lot that I need to do, but I'm pretty sure that there is accessible ways so that he can be completely independent in the kitchen, because other blind adults are. And so the School for the Blind has that kind of training as the kids get older. And Ashton will be able to go to the workshops with them, and then we'll be able to go, and they have a whole facility where they help teach them how to, cook independently and do everything. And so that is something that we should probably work on more at home too with him.
Well, at 12, I don't know that many parents are yet venturing into that step with their children. So yeah, baby steps. It's awesome. Before we move off of your life with Ashton and talk about your life as a dance mom, which is so fascinating also, talk to us about inclusion. I know that you've done a great job of educating people on your Instagram about inclusion and what that means. I think a lot of us are just unaware of how to train our children, how to be more inclusive of everybody in their lives.
Yeah, so inclusion, I always talk about this on my page because it really starts at home. It starts with the talks your parents have with you, the kind of books you have at home, the friends you invite over, the kids who are coming to your birthday party. I think that a lot of parents don't, especially if you don't have a child with a disability, teach their kids to be friendly, to be kind, to say hi in the hallway. But inclusion is so much more than that. It's inviting them to your birthday party. It's inviting them to come over to your house on Saturday and have a play date, or go to the park, or really getting to know someone who is different and not letting that difference get in the way of you getting to know the individual, as a person. That is probably I think the biggest obstacle is that sometimes kids see Ashton with his white cane, and it kind of becomes a barrier of like, oh, like he's different. Like maybe, I don't know, if I could invite him over or how, And so, and also parents, they get nervous. Like maybe if I ask this question, it'll be rude or it'll be offensive. Like, why is he blind or what happened to him? I would just say, ask all the questions. Like parents of children with disabilities are happy to teach and explain and spread awareness anytime, any day. We are so much happier if you ask a question than if you stop your child from asking a question. Like we don't want a kid in the playground, especially when Ashton was younger, and kids would point or say something and parents would say, no, like, come on, let's go this way or something. Last year we went to a pumpkin patch and I loved it because we walked by this mom and this little boy, and the little boy goes, why does he have a white cane? And the mom looked at me and smiled, which I loved. And she just turned to her son and said, he's blind and the white cane is helping guide him. And he just needs it to get around. And the little boy was like, oh, that's really cool. Like he just looked at Ashton in a different way. Instead of being afraid of asking the next time he sees someone in a wheelchair or someone with a different disability or another blind child, he'll know. And he won't be afraid to go up to them and ask them to play. He won't be afraid to include them and to get to know them just because they are different from him. And so I love when parents teach their kids, have books with children with disabilities in your home, watch movies with kids with disabilities, and have those talks with your kids, like teach them that there's really nothing that is different, that the way that those children see the world that is different from, the way that they are, that there's more similarities actually than differences. And that's what most kids find when they get to know Ashton. Like, he likes to skateboard, he likes to play outside, he likes camping, he likes traveling. Um, he also watches movies. He just needs audio description, the same movies he likes, other kids like, the same music he likes, other kids like. And so there's really more similarities when we teach our kids to ask those questions and to get to know kids that are different from them, than if we stop them from, asking those questions, and we kind of create those barriers for those learning moments that they're trying to they're just being kids. They're just being curious.
I love that. My son, who is 14, has a friend who is got a degenerative disease, which has put him into a wheelchair, and it's slowing his mind a little bit, or his speech. And so the last time he went there, I said, well, what did you guys do? And he said, well, played video games. I thought, oh, you do what 14-year-old boys do. So yeah, you're right. They do. He enjoys everything else that all these other kids enjoy. And so it's just a point of going over to the house and asking if we can come hang out. And so, and for them, it's a little easier for the kids to come to their house, and that's fine. That's fine for us to have that moment for Tommy to learn and to have a friend that he's, enjoys to be around. So
yeah, Ashton will gladly go to other friends' houses, and he might just need help to find his way around. But other than that, he's happy if they're playing the trampoline, or they're running outside, or playing outside, or listening to music. He's just happy to be there and, to get to know other kids.
Yeah, I love it. My husband, who had a stroke a couple of years ago, probably like you watch other people observe your son. I watch other people observe my husband, and I think, oh, they see something's off. And then you watch, are they going to ask, or are they going to just kind of, work their way around him? And some people will ask, and usually it's like, oh, do you have a bad knee? And then he'll explain, and he's always happy to explain. And I think he enjoys telling his story and what he's dealing with. So I appreciate when people ask, like, oh, are you okay? Can I help you? What's going on? And it, for me as his wife, it's also helpful to have other people around that want to be of assistance and to kind of take that care when he needs it. So
yeah, I was actually going to tell you, when you talked about Eric Wayne Mayer and him going to the restroom, we actually just got back from Boston. And when we got into Salt Lake, Ashton needed to use the restroom in the airport. And obviously I can't go to the men's restroom. So I stood out there, and it had been a very long time, and I was getting really worried. So this man walks out of the restroom, and I see him go find like airport staff. And he's explaining, I think he's trying to say there's a boy who's stuck in a stall and he can't open it. And so I went up to them and said, my son is blind and he is in there, and you might be talking about him. And so then I was doing that, Ashton walked out. And then he was like, oh, good. He figured it out. That was him. So we're all good. We're good. And, he just needed a little bit of extra time. But I love that somebody was aware, and that somebody talked to Ashton on the other side of the stall and said, are you okay? Do you need help? And Ashton said, yes, I need help. Can you get some help for me? And he went out and was trying to find help for him. And so that is probably another lesson that I've learned from him, is that if Ashton needs help, he's going to ask for help. And I can't always just assume, or no one should ever just assume because somebody has a disability that they automatically just need help. The best thing that you can do is ask first and then take their lead from there. Just because you see a blind person trying to cross the street doesn't mean that they need you to hold their hand. They most likely know exactly where they're going, and they're just waiting for the beep signal to cross the street, just like everyone else. But a lot of people who haven't been around someone who's blind assume like, oh, they must need help. So all you need to do is just ask, can I help you? Do you need some help? And they'll let you know if they need help.
Thank you for that advice. All right, Hilda, you are a dance mom, which so I was a cheer mom. I sort of get it, but my daughter was also a little bit older, and she would drive herself around when she started. At first I was driving, but then she took over. Tell us what it's like to be a dance mom as far as time commitment for you and for your daughter.
It is a lot. I've learned, especially in the last year, she's been dancing since she was 2. She's 8 now. But just in the last year, we went to nationals and we had the conventions and everything. And it just is a lot of a time commitment. I would say her dance schedule probably determines when we have our family vacations now, when I can, do certain things. But I love supporting her in something that she loves. And I really think that most kids her age don't know what they want to do. And I love that she knows what she wants to do and she's really good at it. And so
Good.
how could I, not, even if it's a lot of work, like I really love just being there for her and watching her on stage and knowing that she feels confident and strong. And dance just, it teaches girls, not girls, but everybody who dances, teaches dancers so many important lessons. And I think that she just is a lot more mature than other 8-year-olds because she dances and she knows, how hard she has. A lot of people say she has a really strong work ethic, which is really hard to have at such a young age. And that's how she is. And I tell her, all the time, she knows that dance is a sacrifice. It's a lot, it's a big commitment for her parents and her family. And she knows that she works hard. And I love that about her because she doesn't like take it for granted. She knows that it's um, a big commitment. And if she wants to do it, she has to work hard, when she's in dance. And so I just love seeing her growth. This last year I think we went to like 3 or 4 conventions plus nationals. Nationals was 8 days. So it was a lot, but you know what? It was her first solo. She started where she wasn't placing, and it was really hard on her because most of her friends would get first, second, third place, and she wasn't placing in her category, to nationals where she got into the top 20 of the whole, competition.
That's
So
amazing.
all the best dancers of the country, and she was in the top 20. And that, I think, was the biggest lesson for her. Like, don't give up, keep working and keep working hard. And, work hard pays off. And when you're on stage, like the judges can see when you love dance. They can see that passion, they can see that love. And that's how she is on stage. That's what everyone always tells me. Like, she stands out because you can just see how much fun she's having on stage and her expressions. I mean, like I was a dancer, but I was not that her expressions are amazing. It's just beautiful as a parent to see your kids being successful in what they love.
Yeah, it's a good way to put it. How do you fuel Ocean for her name's Ocean, correct?
Ocean.
How do you fuel Ocean for her hours of dance practice? And then even on those, when you're on the road, I would imagine there's a lot of physical strain that she has.
Yeah, so we always pack extra snacks, like today she's dancing for 4 hours. So she's got her lunch for school, but then she's got her snacks for dance after school. And I always try to have like vegetables, fruits, protein in there. And she also loves Ruby. She loves to take those too. And just, I just make sure that she's always got a snack. She's always got something healthy that she can have. I don't send her with money for the vending machine at the studio because I know a lot of the kids like to do that. And I don't love, I don't want her to just be having chips and Cheetos.
Yeah, we need to go stock the vending machines with Ruby.
Yeah, that would be great.
Yeah, that's awesome. So you're probably driving kids around all day and helping with homework and all of these things. How do you find time for yourself to stay healthy? You work out. I know you prioritize that.
Yeah, so I go to a gym and I love it. I go to Bird.
Nice.
And it's just been amazing for me because whenever I'm I feel stressed out. Maybe it's day when I know I'm going to be driving around all over, or I just won't even get a chance to any time alone, other than maybe like waiting for them in the carpool line or something. I know that I have my 45 minutes for me at the gym, and that makes a huge difference for my day. I just feel like if I can just have that 45 minutes to myself where I'm pushing myself and I'm working hard, and I just feel like it just helps me not be as stressed. I work off that stress in the gym, and then the rest of the day, I'm a better mom, I'm a better wife, a better friend. I just feel like a better person just being able to not have to carry that stress, of getting everyone where they need to be and showing up for everybody. I feel like if I show up for myself first in the morning, then I can show up so much better for everyone else during the day.
I love that exercise reduces stress. I mean, we know that it provides cardiovascular benefits and benefits for your muscles and for all of the big diseases, but for like immediate stress reduction, it's huge.
Yeah.
And then I go practice hot Pilates sometimes, and always the instructors at the end are like, make sure you fuel yourself well today. Like, go eat some good protein and fruits and vegetables and some whole grains because you just did something really great for your body. So keep it up. So yeah, great job in starting your day out with that. And then food. Are you always like eating in the car? Are you able to like get your 3 meals a day, or how are you keeping up with that?
It's funny because sometimes I am eating in the so especially when I'm running late to pick up my kids from school or something, I'll just like have to pack up something. So I always try to keep like veggies just like cut up and ready to go so that I can just warm up something and then put the veggies. Or like Ruby is great because then if I don't have veggies that are cut up, I could just hurry and have that and then take some food with me too. I just try to eat as healthy as I can. I know there are things that I don't that you won't ever find at my house, like soda and juice. I don't ever have those for my kids or for me just because of the sugar. Those are just not things that I love. My kids can have them at birthday parties, when we go out to eat, they're always a treat, soda. But I don't have that like stocked in my fridge or anything. I try to have foods that are high in protein, snacks that are better options for them. And that way I know that, they're getting good, they're getting, their bodies are being fueled by good snacks instead of, because kids will just snack all day
Yeah,
sometimes.
totally.
Especially that's what my son loves to do is snack.
Yeah. Well, and they're easy, right? It's so easy for a kid to be able to go grab snack from the pantry and eat it. And so I appreciate that there are so many foods that are better options and that are easy for our kids, because it makes it easy for us.
Yeah.
So because we're about food and eating great foods, I want to hear about your earliest food memory or one of your earliest food memories.
So I grew up in Peru, and I have like my earliest food memories are mostly Peruvian food.
Love it.
My mom making like homemade Peruvian food. And some of my earliest memories are like lomo saltado. It's like a kind of like a stir fry beef with like vegetables and rice. And then
Sounds amazing.
ceviche,
Oh, yeah.
like raw fish with like lime juice, and those kind of foods are my earliest food memories, which I think helps me to want my kids to have more of those kind of meals than like everyday like fast food. Like I mean, we do have those too, but like I try to purposely have food that will be healthier for their bodies. And I think that having those as my earliest food memories helps because, and my kids still to this day, I am not the best Peruvian food like cook, but my mom is. So they love going to her house and having whatever she's making. That's something that they always talk about is how um they called their grandma Mia. Her name's Maria, but they call their grandma Mia. Go to Grandma Mia's house because she has the best food.
Oh,
So they always, talk about that. And she's not ever having like pizza or, like fast food or anything. It's all Peruvian food. And I love that they get to have those kind of memories too.
Yeah.
And um, I don't have like a ton of time to like cook at home because we're always running around. So I don't make as like complex meals as she does.
Yeah.
But like I try to like follow those same kind of things, like a protein, a veggie, and then maybe like some rice or bread or, just like try to follow that same kind of layout on their plate so that they're at least getting something from each um, group and not from each like food group and not just like carbs or, or sugar, just trying to balance that for them.
Well, I love that your kids are getting those food memories similar to what you had with your mother and her cooking with love, really. So, great. Is there anything else you'd love our listeners to know about your journey? And I'd also love to hear you're a vibrant person. How do you find color in your life and joy?
There's a quote that I love that says, faith can move mountains, but first you have to climb them. So as you're climbing that mountain, it doesn't have to be a sad climb. You can climb that mountain with joy. You can find ways and and eventually you'll realize that that journey, that climb was actually a beautiful journey. And actually, maybe it might have been better than the one that you planned to start with. And so I think that that's how I try to find joy, when there are hard things in my life. It's just perspective, changing that perspective and embracing what it is instead of what I thought it should have been.
That's beautiful. And you've been so inspiring to me to look at things, the challenges in our life through a positive lens. Because life is hard. All of us have hard things, but we can still find that perspective and joy through it and find success. I love watching the stories of your son on your Instagram. It really is inspiring what he's doing. And for him, it's life, right? He's like, this is what I'm doing next. And it's really encouraging to see his positivity and his joy also. So good job on raising him.
Thank you.
And thanks for being here. And tell us where to find you.
So you can find me on Instagram at Our Blind Side, or also on Facebook and TikTok too. So great. Any of those, I share our story on there. And yeah, I love the support. I love the community we have there. And I love that Ashton story spreads hope.
Thank you again.